Hello and welcome to this episode of the Gene Keys Exploration. My name is Shelly Szigli and I am a Gene Keys guide. I'm excited to be sharing with you an exploration of each of the gene keys, starting from the first gene key, moving our way all the way through to the 64th gene key. Disclaimer, these episodes are really just about sitting with the energy of the gene keys and literally, at times, reading from Richard Rudd's book. The gene keys are so vast and complex, and as a guide, I don't remember much of the information, so we're going to be exploring these gene keys together. You can find my work at www.genekeyrecordkeeper.com. And other than that, I just hope you enjoy the show and enjoy this exploration. Please feel free to share it, leave us a review, and tell us how this exploration was for you. All right, everyone. Hello. Welcome to today's exploration. Just to let you guys know that I am a little bit goofy today. I have a little bit of a heightened energy, a more ecstatic energy as we're about to go into this 14th gene key. Now, yesterday, I intended to record this gene key exploration of the 14th gene key. I listened to Richard Rudd's audio where he goes into his explanation of this gene key and was really drawn in and taken by this 14th gene key. Now, all of the gene keys are really powerful, but there was just something about this 14th gene key that had me in a deeper contemplation than what I normally go into. So I wanted to share that with you. And also, just as I'm coming on to record this, my energy is up. My energy is heightened, and I hope that you listening to this also feel this heightened energy and take this gene key contemplation really into heart. Now, what I mean by that is just allow. As you hear me reading and as I'm digging into this gene key, just allow yourself to go wherever you're going to go. Perhaps be open that this gene key has particular information that may be useful to maybe your mind, but maybe also your energetic and cellular body. So I do not have this gene key in my chart, but this gene key surrounds me in my outer world quite a bit. So inside the book, The Gene Keys, Embracing Your Higher Purpose by Richard Rudd, the 14th gene key is titled Radiating Prosperity. The shadow is compromise, the gift is competence, and the Siddhi is bounteousness. Now, I'm going to read the book here, but before I read the book, I want to share what it was that Richard said in his audio that was really touching to me. And I want to share it with you because I feel like there's a message in here for you as well. The shadow of this gene key is compromise. So I haven't read the book, but just moving with the energy and the sharing that Richard did in the audio, he talks about compromise being where we know something in our heart, we know something is correct for us, a certain way that is correct for us, but yet we choose something else that is not correct for us. We choose something else sometimes for selfish reasons and sometimes for reasons that we don't want to look at something, whatever the reason may be. So he shared this beautiful example of wanting to go out with your friends. You want to go out with your friends, but your wife really isn't feeling good. This is his example. And your wife says, hey, I really am not feeling well. I would prefer you to stay home tonight. So if the person said, oh, but I know you're not feeling well, but I really want to go to this, I'm going to actually go. I know you're not feeling well, but you'll be all right, and I'll go. So he was talking about that as that being the compromise being going against what you truly know is correct in your heart. Honoring, in that example, your partnership, your commitment to one another, looking after one another, that is the right thing to do. And the compromise in that situation, if you were to ignore your partner's needs and just choose to do what you want to do, that actually is compromise to the heart and soul. So I really appreciated that example because it's true. Sometimes we think compromise means when we don't do something that we really want to do, right? So the compromise is to ourselves, to our ego. But we're in this dynamic world with relationships and obligations in work in all these different areas. And sometimes because I don't want to isn't reason, is actually the selfish compromise. So that was an interesting example that he gave, and I really appreciated that. So let's dig into the book and read this. I'm going to start with the first paragraph here. The 14th shadow, compromise. It starts by saying the leaky wagon. Like, isn't that appealing to know? What is he talking about? In the Chinese I Ching, the word for the 14th hexagram is usually translated by the phrase possession in great measure and is traditionally symbolized by a large wagon laden down with goods. It is a symbol of wealth, health, and prosperity, which are all themes linked to good fortune as well as hard work. This 14th gene key and its shadow really concern the way in which humans work. It concerns the actual choice of work you do, the people you work with, and above all, the way that you work. Every human being has a built-in genetic need to work. Interestingly, the word work has become associated in the English language with the concept of effort, which shows just how deeply the collective shadow of this 14th gene key has descended into our lives. Work can actually mean many different things. It all depends upon your attitude toward life. The source of the 14th shadow is compromise, and compromise has become the norm for the majority of people on this planet. Compromise has become so embedded in our psyches that we don't realize that we are doing it anymore. Compromise is the byproduct of living without a sense of personal freedom. It implies a lack of imagination and an inability to believe in the power of your own uniqueness and individuality. The 14th shadow is paired with the 8th shadow of mediocrity, and thus we humans live sandwiched between these two low-frequency victim states, unable to envision a way out of our uninspiring life situations. Even those of us who can see a way out are often out of our dissatisfaction, rarely have the courage to actually follow through with our dreams because of a deep-seated fear that we lack the power and capacity to complete the long journey toward our dreams. Compromise begins deep inside of us. It begins when we are young, when we inherit the world shadows from our parents and our schooling. Many people dream and aspire to greatness when they are young, but most have given up on their dreams by the time they reach their 40s. Many give up much earlier, and some of us never get it off the ground. Most young children growing up in today's world dream of being film stars or footballers or famous singers, and most adults see these dreams as passing phases in a young person's life. However, these young people are unconsciously projecting their own inherent urge to excel in an area of life. This kind of early dreaming aspiration actually burns at a very high frequency. And if it can be maintained, harnessed, and given direction, it will eventually lead these children in the direction of their excellence. So, again, we know these shadows very well. This 14th shadow that we learn early on that what I truly desire isn't attainable. What I truly desire, these are my words, isn't convenient for other people. What I truly desire, the people around me view as stupid, right? It happens at a very young age where we begin to filter what it is we think we desire. So for me, when I'm really tapping into this and tuning into this, it's not that we filter what we desire, but rather I think it's like this. We choose to move towards things that are fitting for not just ourselves, but for the world around us. What would make my mom proud? What would make my dad proud? What would make me a good girl, right? Like, what would make me a good boy? What would make people say, yes, they've really done a good job, right? So it's the seeking validation often that will lead us to compromise the true desires. And he said, as I was reading before, in the 40s, most people give it up. Now, I don't resonate with that, and I don't think you will either, because you're here and you're listening to these gene keys and the exploration. Perhaps you've bought the Gene Key Record Keeper, which is the book that I created to go through the Golden Path courses. Perhaps you've gone through your Gene Keys activation sequence, the Venus sequence and the Pearl sequence, and you're really just beginning to understand the capacity of what you can do to create your truest dreams. I really hope, and actually I know in my heart, if you're here listening to this, you are indeed here to create something outside of what you've been told you should create. So thank you for being here, and thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for believing in yourselves. Thank you for seeking. Thank you for being the person who has had to go through whatever you've had to go through to be here today. Like, really, truly, thank you. So we're going to go into the repressive nature of the 14th gene key, which the word that he has to describe this is impotent. For those who are unconsciously dominated by fear, the 14th shadow represents an almost inescapable dilemma. The more one compromises in life, the more powerless one feels to escape. A great deal of our actual vital life energy is held within this 14th gene key. And when we do not release this energy through work that we find fulfilling, our power becomes choked up inside of us. The word impotent has the double connotation of applying to our sexuality, which is also deeply connected to this 14th gene key. Sexual vibrancy and fertility, in part, rises and falls upon how much fulfillment we get out of our lives. Making compromises out of fear will actually deplete our fertility. Impotence does not necessarily mean that one appears weak. Repressed natures often do a good job of hiding their weaknesses by going along with whatever happens. True impotence in this respect is about not having the courage to stand alone and pursue one's unique path. Wow. So when we're living monotonous, on repeat realities, it becomes difficult, or sometimes we can't even find or access our life force energy. We're living on default mode. That really is sad. And I guess it's not sad. It depends what lens we're looking through. I find it sad because people don't know what they're capable of. People don't know how it could be. So then I'm like, oh, that's sad. But is it really sad? No, that's, I suppose, the reality that they choose to live. But for me, if I ask myself, okay, Shelly, where is this sadness coming from? What is that about? It comes down to when we see people suffer. Whenever I see suffering, it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's a child, if it's an adult, if it's someone who's done good, who's done bad. It doesn't matter who's doing it. But wherever there's suffering and somebody living in a suffering consciousness, it can be known that that person is entrapped inside of a perception and a reality that is very limited. When we know that there's potential out there to expand and heal and grow, all of those things. So I feel that's where the sadness part comes. I'm a human, and there's that part of me I feel that will always connect with that on some level, right? There's the higher spiritual principles I know where it's like we do not feel sad for anyone, but at some point our humanness feels that, right? That sadness for me is never paralyzing. It's never something that I feel I need to fix, but it's still there. So yeah. Okay, let's keep going. The reactive nature is enslaved. The reactive nature of this shadow is also based upon basic insecurity, but instead of collapsing into impotence, where these people react by trying to prove themselves. This is a classic pattern in the world today. We see people working hard in jobs that are not really right for them in an attempt to prove to themselves and others that they are special. Right, this is my journey to become a psychologist. Single mom of 2 girls, going to prove that she is worthy, that she is intelligent, that she can do all the things, right? Okay. These people are enslaved to their own need for recognition. Absolutely. Ironically, even if they receive recognition, it doesn't fulfill them because they never unleashed their true potential in life. Such people are merely pretending to be powerful in life. If you provoke them, they will soon show their insecurity through their rage. True power never needs to prove itself to others or the world. True power is only concerned with one job at hand. Okay. So yeah, I know that one really well, the trying to prove myself. And it's true. It's true. Underneath that, showing everybody comes a side that can be provoked, can be triggered quite easily. It isn't an effective long-term plan. At least for me, it wasn't. I didn't last that long in it. I mean, I lasted a few years, probably 5 years. But then once I saw an opportunity that, hey, this matches my soul, this matches where I want to go, what I truly desire, I'm going here. So yeah, I wonder how it resonates for you. And it's interesting as I do these explorations because every single one of these shadows and gifts I can relate to or connect to, which makes sense because the gene keys are a synthesis where all of these energies flow and work together with one another. So we're technically linked to each one of these in some way, shape, or form. And perhaps the shadow doesn't express itself through me, but I sure as heck have seen it expressed to me by others. I'm able to locate these shadows in the world around me, and many of them in myself, if I'm really honest. And I hope you're honest too. If you allow yourself to really see the shadow as you're listening and be like, oh yeah, like I know this. There's a power in that. There's a contemplation that occurs, and there's something that possibly was buried deep in your unconscious can now come up to be released. So how beautiful is that? So the 14th gift is competence, the fire in the belly. Oh my goodness, I love that. As we have seen, within every human being lies a latent genius, and this genius emerges when you stop making compromises in life. Competence is the quality that accompanies a person who loves what they are doing. It is one of those gifts that cannot be taught because true competence hints at much more than simple doing things well. Competence carries within its efficiency, enthusiasm, flair, and flexibility. The 4 keys to material success. It is efficient because it finds the quickest and simplest solutions to any obstacles along its path. It is enthusiastic because it is so deeply fulfilled by what it does. It has flair because it is doing something in a manner that no one else can. And it is flexible because it can be applied to any sphere of human enterprise imaginable. Whoa. Okay. So in Richard's audio, he really talked about how this gene key is associated to business and to prosperity and abundance when operating in the gift frequency. He talks about how one doesn't need to have this 14th gene key in their gene key profile. But if they have people that work with them or near them with this with this 14th gene key in their profile, it will rub off onto them and will have this mirror effect that will create prosperity in one's life. So I'm not saying go find out what everyone's gene keys are and make sure you are around people with the 14th gene key. If I did say that, that would go against one of my teachings from the other day when I said I really don't believe it's our business to dig into other people's charts and other people's gene keys. However, what we could do, if we're going with how I see the ethics of other people's energies, is we could invite people in our world to look at their own gene keys, and we can have conversations about what those gene keys are. But I really personally don't advise getting everybody's information and dissecting their energies for our own personal gain. I really don't. Focus on your own energies, alchemize those, get to know those so well, and then maybe, I don't know. I can't fully say. So, to be competent means to be able to think both logically and laterally whenever needed. The key to efficiency is the ability to switch spontaneously between creativity and receptivity, which means that it is self-adjusting. At the same time as acting, this gift is simultaneously listening and responding to its environment. Inside your body, this awareness corresponds to the solar plex area, which is the biophysical zone that dictates how centered you feel at any given time. To feel centered is to move and breathe from the belly, and for centuries many cultures have understood this truth. The whole notion of the solar plex and the fire in the belly comes from a profound understanding of the power of this region of the body. Okay. The 14th gift has another latent power, the power of attraction. Interesting. So I said the word attraction out of kind of nowhere earlier, but now I'm seeing it. Competence creates a powerful magnetic field that not only draws in the right support, but also has the ability to magnetize material wealth. Once you have attained the gift frequency, the tendency is for consciousness to keep expanding. This is the origin of the many folk sayings about money and wealth. For example, it takes wealth to become wealthy, or wealth begets wealth. Prosperity is an infectious energy field that grows exponentially as long as it is used in the service of an empowerment of others in the world as a whole. Competence is unafraid of success and power and radiates confidence and assuredness wherever it goes. It is a force field that naturally creates prosperity. It cannot do otherwise because it has so much creative power within it. It has only to find the right outlet into the world. Finally, the 14th gift has flexibility. You cannot be rigid and competent at the same time. Competence is the working aura of someone who loves the material work they are involved in, whether that be in the office or at home in the family. Mothers in particular who have the 14th gift can create all the dynamics within a family for spiritual, emotional, and mental material prosperity. As the backbone of the family, their powerful spirit will infuse and empower each child as they grow, as well as inspire strength and purpose in their partners or husbands. In fact, the moment you activate the 14th gift, you realize a certain aroma through your DNA that soon makes you the backbone and mainstay of any family or team. Moreover, your aura of confidence and capability can be easily transferred in any direction. You guys, this is gold. I hope you're really listening here. This flexibility is not the same as having skill. It is a fearless openness to grapple with any task in a realistic and focused way. If you do not know how to do something, you learn, and once you have learned it, you can apply it to other areas of your life. In the way the 14th gift continually extends its potential in many different directions simultaneously. Okay, 1 second here. Whoa, let's talk about this. So essentially, this 14th gene key is activating the abundance inside of our frequencies. So both of my ears are buzzing. This 14th gene key, whether it's in your chart or not in your chart, can be activated, and I feel like it is activating as I speak it out loud. So if you're listening to this and you're feeling something happening in your body, in your frequency, in your energy, just allow it to happen. So this is really, I'm just going to go with the information coming in. I guess we could call it channel, but I don't usually use that word, but let's go with it, okay? So whatever you're doing in your world right now, this is why it's so important to follow the creative thread within you, to look at what you have in your tool belt, in your skill set, in your joys, your love, your passions, because within those things that you love, within those things that you do well, is an avenue to prosperity, is an avenue to have this 14th gene key, not just activated, but emanating out into your world. The example he gave is the mother. If there's a mother who's attuned to this frequency, she can literally hold the space for abundance and prosperity to occur in her family without her ever having to do any work in the physical outside world, right? She holds the frequency. She does what she loves, looking after her children, attending to the family, holding everything together. And that creates the abundance frequency and sets it out into the rest of the family. Now, I just recorded earlier today, a talk on healing, which you'll be able to find in my teaching series, where I talk about the fact that when we are activated, when we are living in a new direction, putting out a new frequency, that frequency is immediately responded to. Now, that doesn't mean that all situations just magically change overnight, but it does mean energetically they shift. It does mean that even if someone around you, their actions haven't shifted to match your energy that you're putting out, there's definitely a shift felt by that person, and there's something happening behind the behavior of what they may be showing externally. For example, if you have a partner that you guys usually fight about money, but this time you guys are interacting and talking about money and you aren't fighting, you aren't defensive, you aren't responding to any attacks, and you're quiet, you're grounded, you're stable, you're acting and operating from a new frequency, the partner is going to look at you and wonder, like, what's happening? Whereas, because they're looking for that dynamic that usually happens, but it's not there anymore. So therefore, the cause and effect of what's happening is really going to change. So I think that's really beautiful. I hope you're inspired today. I hope that 14th gene key is activating as you're listening to me talk and you're feeling into the frequency of this competence in the knowing that what you do with ease, what you do with love, what you do with heart has the power to create and attract abundance of all scales and measures. Okay, woohoo. Let's go and let's move to the 14th Siddhi. Bounteousness. Bounteousness, yes. Okay, so I'm going to read from the book. The single-celled heaven. At the Siddhic level of consciousness, energy is transmitted through the individual via the medium of the morphogenetic field. Morphogenetic fields are energetic grids that connect all creatures and particles of matter at a subatomic level. In order for a human being to utilize the power of this energetic matrix, their body must emit a high-frequency wavelength. At the Siddhic level, their whole being becomes like a vacuum. Something astounding occurs to the chemistry of a person at the Siddhic level. And the transformation is so physiologically powerful that it literally drives the occupant, commonly known as the ego, right out of the vehicle. Now, I have to interrupt my reading here for a moment, and I want to talk to you today about morphic fields, because I just read to you a definition of what morphic fields are, but I want you to just tap into that a little bit deeper. So every single concept, every single religion, every single idea has an energetic field around it. Now, I like to use religion as an example when I'm talking about the morphic field concept, because religions have ideas, baselines, and they have mass amounts of people that believe and are plugged in to that field. So the more people that are plugged into a certain field or to a certain concept, and possibly it's not even people, the more energy that's plugged into something, the more powerful the morphic field is. So this is what I feel, how religions become so powerful and why people have spiritual experiences. It's not because necessarily that the religion that they're having an experience with, a spiritual, mental, emotional, physical experience with, is the truth or is correct, but rather that it has a powerful energetic field around it that can be tapped into, that can be felt, and that when we haven't previously had this experience of tapping into these fields can be quite jarring and inspiring and enlightening. We can take that experience of what we're feeling from the morphic field and turn it into a higher truth when it isn't necessarily like that. So even if we look at something like dark witchcraft has a lot of people, a lot of energy, a lot of stuff moving into that field, a lot of belief in that field. So if somebody starts practicing dark witchcraft, they enter into the energetic field of dark witchcraft. And it's not that their personal power is powerful, but it's the field that's been created by, the millions of people, the energy that goes into that field that gives that field power. So I often will talk about morphic fields and share that with people so they can understand, because as somebody who's experienced Christianity, Islam, all these different world faiths, I've had experiences and felt something within all of them. And I believe solely it's because of the morphic field. And because humans are so disconnected, when we feel something powerful, we think it must be true, real, or right. And that just is not the case. And unfortunately, a lot of people get stuck in dangerous, limited, dark places because they feel something and they're scared to lose that feeling. So, a little side note on morphic fields, and I hope that was useful for you. So, let's go back to talk about this Siddhi of Bounteousness. So he was talking about literally losing yourself, becoming vacuumed up into spiritual experience that you lose yourself. The 14th Siddhi is the core archetype of your power as an individual. It is the Siddhi of Bounteousness, the ultimate legacy of what it means to be a human. This Siddhi is the true genetic inheritance of man, the ability to create an abundance. But the 14th Siddhi is not about accumulation. It is about fertility. Your true latent fertility lies most dormant in your genes. When the 14th Siddhi flowers inside a person, they become a driving force for humanity itself. Their every word, thought, and deed reaches deep into the morphogenetic field and pushes the whole of humanity in a new direction, the direction of abundance, yes. The overflowing fertile potential within humans is almost infinite. As the Siddhi testifies, it is a single human that can influence the entire direction of the species in a beneficial direction. One can only imagine what might happen if all humans were to manifest this Siddhi. The mass dawning of the 14th Siddhi would be what almost all cultures have at some time referred to, the uniting of heaven and earth. Not just a golden age, but a permanent state in which all humans take the helm together. A state in which individual power and collective power become one and the same. I think I'm going to end it here. What a beautiful gene key the 14th gene key has been. I was going to record the 15th gene key right after this gene key, but there is no way. I am actually feeling quite activated, and I also feel excited. I feel excited for you listening to this because there's no way that this gene key could be activated and something bad come from it, right? This is, the more people that listen to this, the more people that learn about this, the more that our world is going to transform and come and unite together. So this is the 14th gene key exploration. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you listening to these explorations. Please like, share, comment. Let me know how this exploration in this particular gene key was for you listening to it. And other than that, just have the most beautiful day, evening, whatever and wherever you may be and whatever you may be doing. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for joining us in this episode of the Gene Keys Exploration. If you would like to purchase the Gene Key Record Keeper, please go to www.genekeyrecordkeeper.com, or you can go to Amazon and search Gene Key Record Keeper, and you can purchase your very own copy of a sacred companion tool as you learn, track, and move through your gene keys. Have the most beautiful day, and we'll look forward to connecting with you in the next episode. Bye-bye.